Good evening, everyone. We are back with kind of the final entry in our Disney retrospective, 100 Years of Wonder. Feels weird to say it's the last one because technically it isn't. 2 weeks after this, well, another 2 weeks, we've got kind of like an epilogue to it, almost like the two US ones. Yeah.
Yeah, the Yankees don't count.
Well, yeah, so the next 2 weeks we're doing Disney's Dinosaur and the 2011 Winnie the Pooh for anyone that wants to know. Those are going to be the next two reviews. But for all intents and purposes, this is the last one for us. We've made it to the end, all the way from Snow White, which we did in October of 2023. Could you just bump my audio down? Sorry, just a little tiny bit. Snow White in 2023. And all the way till now. We're at number 62 today with Moana 2. And I'm sorry, guys, I haven't got the DVD. It's a break from tradition. I can't hold up the DVD because it hasn't been released yet. But we did get to watch this film, and we're here to talk about it. I'm kind of thinking now, when we get to Zootopia 2 later in the year, do I just change the thumbnail to a different design other than Disney 100? But the OCD in me is going to want to keep the same house design forever. Even when we hit like the next 100 years of Disney, it will still be the same thumbnail.
Why would we be here in the next 200 years?
I know.
That was really weird for my brain to handle.
Yeah. We got a few comments, though. King Seaward Man says, I still need to go see this. Brian Emery says, I can't wait to see this. I don't know if that's in relation to Moana 2 itself or our review of Moana 2, so hopefully both. And Carl says, hope you guys are okay. Yeah, we're doing all right, man. How about yourself?
My hot water broke, so...
Oh, Jesus.
But then I fixed it.
Oh, okay.
Turns out I didn't have to tap on, so... I had the wrong one.
Jesus Christ. 62 movies in. I was going to say 62 weeks. It's been more than 62 weeks. We've been pretty consistent. We were saying this the other day, all the way through these. There was a couple of weeks where we had like a bit of a break, mostly due to my technology not working at the time when my Mac was on the blink. But how do you feel now we've kind of reached this sort of unofficial end of the retrospective?
I feel like David Lee Roth when he left Van Halen. There's more to come.
Yes, and there is. There quite literally is. Yeah, no,
exactly.
I don't know if this is a bit of a whimper to end this one a little bit. Moana 2. We can sort of backtrack on our thoughts on Moana 1 very, very briefly because we've got like I don't even know how long that review is. I feel like that was one of our longest reviews actually. Moana.
I think our longest was Frozen.
It may have been, yeah, because that was like a proper debate back and forth, wasn't it? And I don't even have got the strength in me to do it for Moana 2 today. And it's not that I enjoy this one probably. Oh, no, actually, do I enjoy this one more than Frozen? I don't know. I have less problems with this one than I do with the first Frozen film, but I think that's just because Frozen is so overhyped. But then again, maybe this one too. How did this film make so much money? It almost seemed like I blinked, I looked, and it's made well over $1 billion. It just happens. So, budget of 150 mil. And I remember this came out it was November last year, wasn't it? And I think I kept checking back periodically. I think it was kind of like a busy December. I think Paddington 3 was out. And there's something else.
Didn't it sit at like 600 million for a while?
Something like that, yeah. And I mean, that's kind of that's basically what the first one made. And then all of a sudden, we just checked, it's crossed $1 billion. So
yeah,
we're getting Moana 3, whether you like it or not. And they're quite clear with that because there's a Disney classic first, I want to say. Not the first time we've had a mid-credit scene or a post-credit scene, but a mid-credit scene that's almost like a Marvel movie that sets you up for the sequel. I don't think we've had that with a Disney classic yet, have we?
No.
Normally it's like a fun little skit or something related to like one of the side characters or one of the comedy characters, but never something that's directly plot-centric that gears you up for a third one. Because Frozen 2 didn't even do that as far as I'm aware. I think she just rides off and then is it Olaf recounting the story or something to the...
Frozen 2 was pointless.
Which is kind of my review on this one, to be honest. The only reason this exists is because Moana 1 made a lot of money. And that's kind of the era that we're in now. You know, we have the Disney Renaissance, which was that 90s era. That's personally my favorite era of Disney. Then we had what we found out last week was called, what was it? The Revival era, which was from Bolt up to Strange World. I guess we're kind of living in the sequel era now. That's kind of what I want to call it, because this one, Zootopia, We think there might be another original one after that, but then you're back to Frozen 3. You're going to be getting a Moana 3 and a Frozen 4 apparently as well.
Hang on, why have they not called Zootopia 2 Zootopia? That would have been...
yeah.
They missed a trick there.
They really did. Well, we haven't seen... Have they? I don't think they've released the poster for it yet, have they? They've released the font, though, I think. So, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be getting... Yeah, it's just Zootopia with a 2 behind it. That's a shame. As I said, Frozen 3, you need the... Well, what are they going to do for Moana 3? Because they did the fish hook for the number 2. Is it going to be like 2 fish hooks? Like, how are they...
But that'd be 22.
No, but like a fish hook and then attached to another fish hook underneath, so it kind of looks like a 3.
Ah.
I don't know.
I'm
showing you look in case you don't know what a number 3 looks like.
I was thinking they'll behead the chicken, and then they'll behead the pig, and then there'll be 1, 2, and then they'll just behead someone else, and there'll be like 3. 3 beheadings. That's what it'll be.
Well, we've got the full animal sidekick gang with us on this journey, because I remember that being weird in the first movie, like all the advertising and the trailers and the posters and whatnot. It was Pua the pig, and it was Hey Hey the rooster. And then all of a sudden, the pig was in like the first 5 or 10 minutes of that first movie and then just disappeared and showed up again at the very end. So I feel like they took the scissors to it a little bit, but we've got the full gang is aboard with this one. Plus some new characters. We've got a whole sort of crew, captain and crew with this one, which we'll get into later on. So I guess the preamble for this one is that it wasn't meant to be a movie at all. This was pitched and developed almost up until the 11th hour as a TV series. Very concisely titled Moana, the series, which was going to be on Disney Plus. This was sort of being worked on parallel to the live action version that we've got coming out next year. I keep forgetting that that's a thing, but that is happening. There is now a hyperlink on Wikipedia that has the Moana franchise, and I thought, oh no, what does this mean? We're going to get even more spin-offs now, maybe. But yeah, this was conceived as a 5-episode sort of mini-series, I guess, Disney Plus exclusive, and it was reworked in the February of 2024. The film came out November 2024, and it was decided in February of that same year to turn those 5 episodes into a feature film. Apparently this was easy to do because apparently a lot of the animation work doesn't take place until that final year. All the other years before that are the pre-production stage and production and getting the idea finalized, which I'm guessing must have been done if they had the 5 episodes. I can't imagine though it was a simple case of just taking those 5 episodes and just merging them all into one. I imagine some kind of restructuring of the plot would have had to have taken place.
It did feel rushed.
When you were watching it, did you feel like I could tell this was a TV series that's been chopped down?
Yeah, and from the plot being the whole, like, there are islands here, and I was like, so it's basically Kingdom Hearts. We're going to go to these places. They were all once connected, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, it's got the plot for a TV show. And then it just kind of all crammed together and just did a thing that I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we fleshed anyone out. And that's why I fail to have a favourite character in this. I don't think anyone got fleshed out. There was no, like, we got to see them. It just happened. You're like, okay, that person's there. Okay, that person's there.
I imagine they would have been, what, like half-hour-long episodes, maybe, do you think, for a TV series? Or 20 minutes for a Disney Plus series aimed at kids? Yeah. Carl says, wasn't it meant to be a TV series yet, but was quickly changed to a film, and you can tell the villain feels completely forgotten about in this. I totally agree. And it's I was mentioning this, that it feels like we've got our sort of like a Disney first with this one, a mid-credit scene, which sets up for the sequel. We're kind of got this sort of almost like Thanos-like figure, this big, godlike overlord that's apparently going to be our main villain now for the Moana trilogy, which feels so weird to say.
I wonder if Carl sat there eating cereal.
What, just eating some... Yeah. Carl, if you are eating cereal, even if you're not eating cereal right now, let us know what cereal you would be eating.
Or if he is, that's going to be the greatest moment of my life. It's going to be great. But
Carl's just watching this video like, oh my God, he can see into my room. Like, what the fuck? Like,
it'll be like that kind of, like, when I mention people when they die, like I mention cereal and people are eating it. It's like, okay, I have powers.
It's a special skill that you have, yeah. Bath Time says, oh my God, it's the lads. Hell yeah, we're back. We never went away. We're still here.
And you missed it. My hot water broke, so.
Yeah.
But then I turned the right tap on, so it's fine.
We've got Album 2025s who says hi. Dale, what's your favorite album of all time?
What, of all time, Van Halen?
Of all time. There you go. Van Halen 1. 2's very
I
good.
thought you were going to say of 2025, and I was like, oh, what's come out this year?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't keep track of modern music, to be honest, so I wouldn't be able to help you out there.
I do wonder.
Bathtime says, I often thought 3D was brought back for this exact reason. Moana 3D is too obvious. Oh, no. Well, that's a good... Well, we've got Avatar 3 coming out this year, and that's the whole 3D high frame rate bullshit, isn't it? Do you think that's going to rekindle the 3D craze again? Avatar 2 didn't really do that, did it? Avatar 1, every film was getting...
dog shit.
In 2010 when that movie came, or 2000, no, it was 2009, wasn't it? Anyway, around that time period, 2009, 2010, every film had to be, you had to have a 3D equivalent to it, and a lot of them were converted 3D. And then, like most 3D trends, it just came and then it went away. And then Avatar 2 came out, and I thought, oh, is it gonna push it back again? And I don't think it did. I think Avatar 2 came and went. How those films make that much money and no one talks about them. There is no lasting impact of the Avatar
like Zootopia.
films. Yeah.
It makes sense.
What the fuck? How? How is it making so much money?
Or they could have called Zootopia Zootopia.
There you go. There you go. We need to get you on the marketing team for Disney, Dale. This is genius.
Zootopia.
Let's just add numbers into... Even when it's an original film, let's just add numbers in there just to confuse everyone.
Like Moana should have been Tuana. It works.
Tuana.
I need to change career.
Brinsley says, I enjoyed the first Moana, but don't really have much interest in the sequel. I'll check it out on Disney Plus, I guess. Yeah, it's probably what I'd recommend, to be honest.
It feels like it does feel like it feels like a TV show in the sense of it doesn't feel as big a budget. It feels quite like, because when you have a TV show, even if it looks, because it looks spectacular, like even if it does, it just has that feeling of, like if something's a TV movie, you can tell it's a TV movie. It just has that little bit less of a, like not as much time was spent on it kind of thing. And that's what it feels like.
I actually wondered that, like with a Disney Plus series, I doubt that, well, it wouldn't have had the same budget as a feature film. So I can't imagine the animation would have been as crisp, as detailed, maybe as the first one, or maybe it would. I don't know. I don't know how much they would have spent on that original series, but when it was retooled into being a movie, do you think they would have put some more money behind it and said, oh, actually, we need to like improve this animation quality a little bit? Because there are some really nice shots in this. Like one of them, I couldn't get the exact one that I wanted, but this is kind of the scene.
It does look great. It does. It does look great. I'm not going to say that doesn't.
There's two... God, sorry.
I was going to say, I kind of miss Wish's cool, like, designs.
I think that is very unique to Wish, though. I kind of like that about it. It's probably the only thing about Wish that I like. But
this was a better movie.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, this was better. Carl says, I guess he's agreeing with you here, Dale. The songs are okay, though. I actually don't think they are. I think they're incredibly forgettable in this one. I couldn't tell you a single song in this one. There's the one that kind of... It's the girl boss song, isn't it? It's like, Moana, you're so awesome, you need to train and you need to get to the next level, and she's like running through like a training montage gauntlet or something.
And that's where, as a video game, you'd be fighting like those of characters and stuff, and you'd be on an island, and then you'd level up, and there'd be a boss monster, and we didn't get a video. We should have got a Moana video game. That's what we should have done.
I'm surprised we haven't, to be honest. Oh, well, don't speak too soon. Maybe we will. I still stand by. I think it would be a fantastic world for Kingdom Hearts. Genuinely, that would be the at World's End Pirates of the Caribbean equivalent, like the Black Flag kind of thing, free roam, traveling to all these different islands. Yep. But I agree with Carl here when he said Moana 2 wasn't too bad. I like the rocks tattoo and funny, and the coconut guys are okay. But Moana felt full girl boss in this one. I agree. There are still moments where she fails and she needs to be saved, which I appreciated because most things don't do that anymore. But she literally becomes a demigod by the end of this movie. So, I mean, where are we going into the third one with this? Like, she's basically unstoppable now at this point. Spoiler alert for this movie. There's kind of like a... how do I say it? Does anyone want me to spoil Moana 2? Actually, I should say that because I'm aware that some people haven't seen it in the comments, so maybe... But let's just say by the very end of this movie, something happens with her character where I'm like, there is going to be no tension for this character going forward now because she's basically got a get out of jail free card in any perilous situation. So,
well, you say that, and I agree, and I would always agree with those kind of things. But every time I do think back to Dragon Ball and how they have their fucking, no matter what happens, they can wish on the Dragon Ball, people come back to life. People, like, do you know what I mean? They can wish upon them, but it's still, there's still tension, and it's still like they still do it. And every time I'm like, I'm surprised because I sit there and I'm like, well, technically they could wish for him back. Because I was like, do you know what? They should end it. Goku dies, they do this. And I'm like, well, technically they could bring him back. So they could.
And I can't be too hard on it with this movie because, you know, I've seen animated films that do it before. The ending to this is basically the ending of Kung Fu Panda 3, if anyone's seen that. It's basically exactly the same
thing. It reminded me of Jackie Chan.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Explain.
So, because the whole, like, there's different, like, gods for, like, different, like, elements and shit.
You're
like
talking
that.
about the Jackie Chan animated series, by the way, not actually Jackie Chan himself.
Not like him.
Moana reminds you of Jackie Chan.
They have similarities. Just like every Disney movie has a similarity to Van Halen, apparently, because I've managed to do it on every single Disney movie.
62 videos. You've kept it going, so yeah. We got 2 more, so, you know, don't drop the ball now.
Well, do you know what? As much as we got 2 more, and I agree, I'm also there just like, this is unofficial. Technically, it's unofficial. I'll have to compare it to, like, the Van Halen demos.
This is. I tell you what this is, and Carl and a few other people in the comments will probably appreciate this because I know we've got some Lost fans watching. This feels like this is the season 6 finale that we're doing today. Hopefully not as anticlimactic, and then the 2 in the next couple of weeks is going to be the epilogue, the 10-minute epilogue that was on the season 6 DVD that ties up a few more loose ends. That's the equivalent. Carl and a few other people will appreciate that reference, I guarantee. Bath Time says, am I right in thinking Toy Story 2 was meant to be straight to video? Straight to TV seems to be the modern equivalent.
Yeah, I think it was. Do you know, I can't remember. I think it was, but that ended up being the best movie in the series.
I know it was almost deleted, wasn't it? Do you remember hearing about that? How they were deleting some files, and luckily someone managed to have a backup. We almost lost Toy Story 2.
Do you know what? I remember reading that, and then, I mean, I know this was a bit before, but Kingdom Hearts 1 was deleted, and they still managed to redo it all.
Yeah.
So, you know, it can be done. Like, don't, like, just sit there and say, oh, it can't be done. It's like, it fucking can, so get on it, Disney.
Could you imagine if you were that worker that dragged Toy Story 2 into the recycle bin and hit empty trash? You're like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck, what did I do?
There's a woman, I can't remember her name, but if you Google her, it's like Madeline no. It's, what is it? But there is literally a woman, it's like, I can't remember her name, but she is literally the first thing that comes up if you Google her. Like, she's the woman that saved Toy Story.
Oh, nice.
I cannot remember her name. I can't even remember what she did in this sense. But, like, I don't know. If you Google woman that saved Toy Story, there's this woman. And then, like, if you Google her, that's, like, the biggest thing she's known for. I can't remember what it was she did, but I just know that was a thing.
And we thank her for it, because Toy Story 2 is great. We love that.
Toy Story 4 is just not a thing.
We've been talking about maybe doing a Pixar retrospective at some point. Everyone in the comments, let us know what you think to that idea. Maybe not next. I think we're going to have a bit of a break from Disney. We'll move on to some other things. We've got some other ideas in the works before then. But would you guys be down for seeing us talk Pixar? Let us know. Bath Time says, you can tell the passion for Moana 2 when a reviewer asks if you're eating cereal. Yeah. And you like this movie. You like this movie.
Yeah, I still don't have my answer. I want to know.
Oh, okay. Carl says, I can confirm I'm not eating cereal, but I'd go for a bowl of Lucky Charms if you're buying.
Do you know what? I've never had Lucky Charms.
Same. Is it like marshmallow bits? Is it
I don't like marshmallow. So, yeah.
Derpy Entertainment says, didn't even watch the first Moana.
That's good. That's worth it.
I mean, I think you could probably go into this one without having seen the first.
You probably could. Like, it's not really... Yeah, you could. You know, obviously there's characters to meet up and the whole like, oh, I know you and that kind of stuff. But
there's a lot of callbacks though, isn't there? You know.
But it's watchable without it. It's not. Yeah. It's not a plot where it's like, oh, but I'm not going to understand that because of this. It's just, yeah.
Oh, we've got a fight on our hands here, right? So Carl's back in Team Lucky Charms. Brinsley's Team Cocoa Pops.
I can't do Cocoa Pops because. This is weird because I like chocolate. Chocolate's fine, but I don't like chocolate ice cream. I don't like chocolate milk. I don't like fucking just chocolate flavored things. Really, chocolate cool, but I can't.
I don't think I have a horse in this race because I've never tried Lucky Charms, so I don't feel like I can
I've
offer a
never
fair
tried Lucky
comparison
Charms,
here.
but I know they don't turn the milk chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't be dealing with that.
Derpy said, never understood the hype for the first, let alone the second film. I really like the first Moana film, I must admit. In looking back at, in the films that we've done in this retrospective, to me, Moana was the last truly good one. Where I can honestly say, like, yeah, that was a fantastic Disney animated classic. Not one of the best, I'm not going to rank it alongside Beauty and the Beast or Lion King or Mulan or anything like that. But in terms of the modern era of Disney, the revival era, I guess that's definitely one of the strongest contenders. I think it was the last truly great one. Because then what did we have after that? Then it was like Frozen 2 and Encanto, wasn't it? And Strange World.
Don't talk about Encanto. Which is kind of a reference to Encanto because the song, but that wasn't actually on purpose.
JD Seaman says it's frustratingly baffling that Disney is actually having the nerve to produce their live-action remake of Moana, even though they've already released what was supposed to be a Moana TV series. Yeah, I've really struggled to comprehend this because, we've talked about how I think it's utterly pointless that they're doing live-action remakes to begin with, let alone a film that, when they announced it, was very much less than 10 years old at the time. And Moana 2 is still very much in the zeitgeist. It's everywhere at Disney parks and whatever. But a sequel was already confirmed, and we were having a sequel on the way. It's not like Moana content had dried up for decades, so it's like, right, let's resurrect that. Everyone still knows what Moana is. As I say, it's less than 10 years old, so kids still know about it. We've got the sequel that came out literally November last year and has now grossed over $1 billion. So I guess that was a good decision on Disney's part, certainly from a financial perspective, whoever came up with the idea to go, actually, let's release this as a movie, because it's certainly paid off for them as a business venture. They've made a lot more money from that than they would have done on Disney+. But yeah, then next year, like less than a year from the Moana 2, we're going to have a live action version, which is completely pointless. And we always say, like, you just have much more freedom with animation. I think that Moana is much more suited to animation. I can't understand what new story are you going to be telling with this live action one.
You're not.
And because this is made
a shot, the same thing.
Yeah, and because this is made over $1 billion now, Moana 2, you can guess that we're going to have like Moana 3 animated, and then they'll just follow it up with Moana 2 live action, and then Moana 3 live action, and then we'll probably have Moana 4 or a fucking spin-off series. And as I say, that hyperlink now, the Moana franchise,
it's going to be about like Maui has a family.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a family, and he's going to be gay. That's what they're going to do.
Or it's going to be like a passing of the torch kind of thing, because you've got Moana's little sister in this one, like little 3-year-old sister. So probably going to do something with that. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just Disney. I stand by it. Disney sequels should not be Disney classics, apart from Fantasia 2000 and Rescuers Down Under. They're the only two I'll give a free pass to.
Yeah, I still, as much as I love Rescuers Down Under and I absolutely love it, I still don't think it should be a Disney classic.
Bath Time says, is the Alien Earth series done by Disney? I know it's on Hulu. I don't even know what that series is, I must admit, to be honest. Alien Earth series. Do you know about that one?
It's about these aliens.
My parents are aliens.
Yeah.
You're watching that series at the moment, aren't you? Or did you finish it?
You know what? I'm still watching bits, even though I did finish it, but I still keep going back and put it on in the background. It's fucking great.
It's so good. So good. I'll get to the other comments in just a second. We should probably start talking about Moana 2 a little bit more. We're 24 minutes in. Okay, so honestly, I was going to go through the plot of this one, and it's essentially the same plot as the first one. And I think that that's why this one doesn't have as much impact for me, is that the previous one, it felt fresher, seeing this world and everything. And the story itself to Moana 1 was pretty basic. It was very video gamey, wasn't it? It's like, right, we need to get Maui. He's going to help us take out this evil demigod. And when we take that out, goodness is going to come back to the land. That's basically it. And it's the same plot in this one. It's 3 years later, and through some like weird, trippy visions and whatnot, Moana finds out that to unite all of the different tribes that are scattered all across the ocean, they need to raise a mountain from underneath the sea. And then somehow when this mountain is raised in the middle of random nondescript ocean. Somehow every other tribe is going to converge on that, and it's going to link all the islands together, or some bullshit. Also thrown into the mix, there's this new evil demigod, another one that isn't Tekar. It's another one now, like an evil storm cloud in the sky, and he's the perpetrator of this, and he's the one who sank the mountain beneath, and they've got to try and stop this new evil demigod and raise this mountain and save the day. Because then they say there's some like vague threat, like, oh, death will come to the land again. I'm like, wait, how? This mountain has been sunk underneath the waters for how long? Eons? Hundreds of years? Thousands of years? I don't know how long their ancestors stretch back. And apparently, if they don't do this now, they're only bringing this up now, by the way, for the sequel. This was never a point of conversation in the first movie. But for some reason now, 3 years after the events of that, it is now imperative that we raise this mountain.
I don't like sequels. Because they bring up stuff, like you say, it's that. It's bringing up stuff and saying, oh, this is a thing. It's like, but it's not. It's not a thing. And it just, no. Like, yeah. Nah.
There's something at the beginning as well where Moana's father says that we're going to do this ceremony for you, Moana, where you're going to be like the leader of the tribe, but also this wayfinder, and it's very special because we always need one. I'm like, why are you doing this now?
Can we stop with wayfinders though in everything recently?
I know.
Like,
I just hear that word, I get a cold shiver down my spine. It reminds me of Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Kingdom Hearts has wayfinders, and that's cool, but we've got them everywhere now. It's like, all right, we get it. Like, it's like Jack Sparrow and his fucking compass. Like, we get it. You have a thing that tells you where to go. There's always a puzzle piece.
Well, actually, kind of speaking of that a little bit, this kind of aspect reminded me a little bit of Pirates of the Caribbean, at least. I think one of the problems that I have with this, and I think, well, one of the strongest points of the first one is that that great dynamic, that great chemistry between Maui and Moana, and they kind of have that, they're enemies at the beginning and they're squabbling and bickering, and they've got that back and forth and find that mutual respect for each other. Maui is barely in this movie for the first half. At least I want to say like the first hour of the movie, he's barely in it. He's maybe in it for like a grand total of like 3 to 5 minutes, I would say. Very, very short little shots. And he's in this like prison. He's gone looking for this evil demigod, and he's been imprisoned in this giant clamshell thing, this giant mussel, isn't it? I think. And guarded by this evil bat lady who is criminally underused in this film. I thought could have been a really cool Disney villain, but we'll get onto that in a minute. And it reminds me of Jack Sparrow, how he starts off, I think in Dead Man's Chest, he's in like a pirate prison, or he's escaping from a pirate prison. And then he's away from the main cast for quite a while until we're all, we've got the gang back together again, sort of midway through the movie. And I think when he does join Moana, that's when the film definitely picked up for me. Last 100%. Half.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that was probably to do with maybe the TV show structure. Maybe The Rock was very expensive for a TV series, and they wanted to, use him sparingly. I'm not really sure, but yeah. So I thought that was weird because Maui, I thought, was one of your big selling points, and just to take him out of the picture.
I did think that as well. I was kind of like, okay, he's not in it for a while. But to be fair, I did think they, I really like Moana's character in this. I think. I really liked her character in the first one, but I really liked her character in this, and I think she was able to carry a movie without him for a while. But I do agree, it's their back and forth that we like, and yeah, when you see him, it's kind of like, it's been a while. Where you been?
Yeah. And as I say, when they get back together, it's it's fine. There's a lot of references to the first one again. And even like songs are reused from the first one. And to me, like the best songs in the film were the ones that were reused and repurposed from that first film. And then, so Moana's got like a crew now. She just kind of recruits this sort of like ragtag team of people who are really massively incompetent. There's this chick from her island who's meant to be good at fixing things, but she's kind of terrible and she always breaks everything. There's this old guy who can't swim and he's just really incompetent. As I say, you've got Pua the pig, and you've got Hey Hey, just for comic relief, I suppose. I'm forgetting someone. Is there someone else in the crew? Or is that it for the... then you've got like the fanboys, like the scribe, isn't he? That's
what I was going to say, the guy that, and he's like that's not creepy.
Yeah, he's like a really like flamboyant Maui fanboy and whatnot.
Yeah.
I didn't really care for these characters, and I agree with what you say that maybe over the course of a TV series we would have had more banter with these and get to know them just as much as we did Moana and Maui in that first movie. But at least in this one, they do have somewhat of an arc in terms of their abilities. You have the girl who can't fix anything ends up being, you know, really ingenious and thinking of something to do with the mask to help them out in that final situation. You have the old man who kind of has like this life jacket buoyancy thing on, and when Maui falls out the sky unconscious in the water, he's the first one who dives in after him. So I can't remember what the scribe does. What does he just translates for things, right? Like prophecies and ancient lore and whatnot.
And like is kind of comic relief every now and then.
Yeah. So I appreciate that they actually had somewhat of an arc that way, but in terms of personalities and everything, I didn't really care for any of the new characters. The one character that I thought was kind of cool was like the badass coconut guy. He's just sat there like sharpening a knife or something.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, they're all. It's weird because, like I say, I can't really say I have a favorite character because we don't delve into really any of them. The Bat Lady was. What was her name?
Oh God! See, I can't even remember. Matangi.
There you go, Miss Matangi. That's a cool name. If you called her Miss Matangi, but they didn't. Anyway, Matangi. She was cool. She was cool, and then we didn't see her again. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, where she got? I was not happy about it.
She gets a song. She gets what I thought was going to be a villain song. I thought she was going to be sort of like this temptress kind of figure, this sort of like devil on Moana's shoulder, and she's going to be like, "No, stay here. Like Maui needs to be imprisoned, and you know, I'm going to bring you before the gods or whatever. I can promise you all these great things." I thought she was going to be that kind of character, and then she just disappeared. Comes back in the mid-credits scene, which we'll talk about in just a second, which sets us up for Moana 3, which is very weird.
Yeah.
But she had. I quite like the design of her. I like the physicality of the character, like the whole bats that surrounded her and whatnot, and the fact that she got a song, probably one of the more upbeat and visually interesting songs of the whole film, I thought. But I think this film's just completely unnecessary. That's sort of like the final takeaway that I really have with this film is that it just wasn't needed. It was made out of necessity. It was kind of cobbled together. And for what the film is, it just follows the same beats as the first one, almost identically. You know, we've got this new demigod threat, and it's a threat to the land, and we've got to voyage out into the oceans to stop this. But before we do this, we've got to pick up Maui because he's going to help us. And to get to Maui, we've got to go to this kind of underworld place. So that bat lady there, that's kind of the equivalent of what Tamatoa the crab was. Yeah. During that whole segment there where they had to go to like the underworld to get his fish hook, wasn't it, in the first movie? You kind of have that beat. You have the second act low point. You have them try and attack the bad guy and their raft gets destroyed and everyone's very sad, and then they pick themselves up and then they defeat the demigod, and it kind of feels like we end in exactly the same place that we ended the first one. It's the same movie again. The blueprint's identical. And because of that, it's diminishing returns, I feel.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of it was very forgettable. It wasn't hard to watch, but it was forgettable in the sense of I watched it and I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
But it was more because it was fun, colours, and I did like the character Moana again. I thought she was really cool, but it was just like, yeah, it was just, it's a hard one to think about because there's not a lot there to think about.
There's not really many moments. There's some really nice imagery in this, actually, I will say. Two shots that stuck out to me was the bit where she goes underwater and you get the whale shark. Like
that reminded me of Fantasia 2000.
Yes, yeah. I tried to find a wallpaper of that for the background, and this was the closest one I could find to it. But it's not this shot. It's just where she's swimming in front of it, and it's just right in front of her. That was great. And towards the end, she's swimming to the depths of the ocean to touch the mountain that's underneath. And this lightning bolt comes down and it pulls back to this wide shot of her in slow motion swimming down as this lightning bolt's kind of slowly chasing her to the bottom. I thought that was a cool shot. So there is some nice imagery in there, and the animation is still nice for what it is. Probably not quite as crisp or as memorable or as nice as the first one, perhaps, but it's still there. They've still got all the assets
I
there.
think the animation was still great. I don't really have any issues with the animation at all. I think it was still great, and I think, you know, the look of the whole thing with the big purple cloud I just thought that looked really awesome.
This film does have a villain problem again. And to be honest, the first one kind of had one again, but at least it was a very simple plot of we've got to get there and we've got to take it out. And a lava monster's always cool. I'm sorry, it is. Like, there's no personality, there's no character to that, and then you later find out that it is actually Tafiti, but there was something there. With this one, we are fighting a giant purple fart cloud. It felt like, did you ever watch the second Fantastic Four movie, Rise of the Silver Surfer?
No, I watched the smallest bit because the first one was kind of shit, and then there was Silver Surfer was on Joe Satriani's album, so I watched a bit, and then I went, this movie's actually shit again, so I stopped.
Do you know who the character of Galactus is in the Marvel comics?
Yeah,
the big purple guy with like the horned helmet, and he eats planets, and he's huge, right? So in that Fantastic Four movie, they took that design, and he was a giant fart cloud. That it was just a cloud in space that ate planets. Huh. That was the villain of this film. It was just a cloud in the sky. Now, who was behind that cloud is going to be the main villain, we assume, in Moana 3. So yeah, we get a mid-credit scene, which I actually didn't find out about until after I'd watched it, and then I managed to find the scene. So the Bat Lady returns, and I guess how they're framing this now in the relationship that this Bat Lady has to this demigod. What's he called? I can't even remember the name of the villain. Is it? Everyone begins with M.
Yeah,
It's you got Moana, Maui. Was it Matangi? And then who does she serve? Matangi. Oh, Nalo. Sorry, Nalo. That's it. I think he's the bad guy.
Isn't like one of the rules of like TV shows or books and everything to not have characters with the same, like the name that begins with the same first letter? Isn't that like one of like the most basic rules?
Maybe. But she's kind of the lackey to this Nalo character, and Nalo's just like, at last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge. And then Tamatoa, the fan favorite, Jermaine Clement, comes up and he says like, oh yes, I have beef with Maui as well. I want in your Sinister Six operation that you've got going on. And then he sings an awful, terrible song, and the humor's really bad and try hard, and yeah. So I guess like the relationship,
as bad as you're saying. I don't think it's as bad as that.
It was a bit cringe. He overstayed his welcome. And they tend to do that when you've got like a fun little side character that works for like a little 5 to 10 minute segment of your first movie. It's like, right, well, now we've got to do that again. Now we've got to get him in the movie. So he's going to be all over the place. And then he's going to side with Maui and Moana at the end. And he's going to be a good guy. And there's going to be like really cheesy jokes in there. But how it's kind of framed is then that Matangi, this Bat Lady, it reminded me almost of like the Megara Hades relationship. How he's like this overlord and she has some kind of oath or tie to him. She's kind of being held prisoner and has to do his bidding a little bit. So...
Yeah, I can see that. But you see Meg. You see what she does. She develops.
Yes, there's development. Yes,
there's
exactly.
No development in anyone in this.
No, not at all.
Do you know what? My least favorite part, though, which I didn't like, so I really like Moana as a character, but it's at the end where she's like, we will rise, and she says it like 5 times, and she holds the spear up, and I'm like, okay, we get it.
Yeah, there is a lot more girl power stuff in this. Now, I still like the character of Moana. I found her just a really charming protagonist in that first movie. And she wasn't good at everything. And she did keep failing, but she had that spirit. You know, she had those moments of vulnerability where she wanted to literally throw it away. She throws it away and says, choose someone else. I'm not worthy. And then she digs deep and you're like, yeah, fucking go. Like, I am Moana. Yes, you are. You go, girl. And she's great. And I love characters like that. In this one, they definitely dial up the girl boss stuff a lot more. Now, that's fine because it's a progression from the first one. She's already proven herself worthy, but I do feel like we are getting to a point where the third one might go a certain direction, which I hope doesn't happen. You've got characters like Matangi that are just like, yeah, you go, girl. Like, you know, and it's a song about bigging her up, basically. Then Maui sings a song like, can I get a Chi-Hu or something? He's like, yeah, you got to get to the next level, Moana, because you're cool and awesome, and you've got to be the one to go and do this thing. And then literally by the end of the movie, she is, spoiler alert, she dies, is resurrected, and comes back as a demigod, and now she's got like a magical ore, which is going to make her badass and... You know, we've already killed her off and resurrected her. Where do you go with that in the third movie? Not that we know they're never going to kill Moana off. It's a Disney movie. It ain't going to happen. But there needs to be some kind of tension in these action scenes now. And now she's at this level. I don't know what we're going to do. I do like that they nerf the power of the ocean in this one, though. They get to this point where they're like, the ocean can't magically bullshit, you know, help us or like push us through the water a little bit to get us out of the way. we are kind of on our own here. And I liked that. I feel like they're going to have to nerf the powers. Do they do that in Dragon Ball? I don't actually know. Once they reach like crazy power levels, no, do they have to like nerf their power levels down a little bit? Like, oh, there's a magic bullshit barrier, which means I can't use my Ultra Super Saiyan power for this battle.
No, they just find a new level.
It's just
so they get to one level, and then there's another enemy that's stronger, so then they find another level, and then rinse and repeat. So then another enemy stronger, so then they find another level, and it's just the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
When I describe it like that, it sounds so bad, but it's amazing. But that's essentially what happens.
Yeah. We got a comment from the Hannah who says, did you guys cry at the part where Moana almost died?
No, because there was almost no feeling in the movie.
And then she was back. Before you know it, she's back. So
yeah. So it was there was no feeling in the movie.
There was no. Yeah, because the first Moana film has so many of those moments where even when, because I've watched the first Moana film a good few times now, and even when I was watching it for the retrospective, I thought, is it going to have the same impact? Am I going to be a little bit more critical of it? And I actually wasn't. And all the same feelings and the same emotions that I have, and those Disney chills that I always talk about where, the hairs on your arms stand on end and you get those goosebumps from either the beautiful imagery or the music or the combination of the two. I still got those watching Moana, and it's the bit where when she walks out into the sea at the very beginning of the film and the sea kind of parts and you see like the turtle like swimming in the ocean around the outside and the wave coming up and having that personality to it, almost like the magic carpet, that moment. But the main moment, and I mentioned this in our review, is where she stands toe to toe with a lava monster and everything goes into slow motion and you say, I've crossed the horizon to find you, and it's just it's so epic. That's Disney at its best when it can conjure that. And there were no moments like that with this one for me. What do we think to the whole thing as well about the ancestors coming back as Force ghosts and bringing Moana back to life? Now, this is done by Maui, but I'm like, if Maui had this power where he could just resurrect anyone, if Moana would have died in that first movie, would she have come back as a demigod then? Like, what makes her a demigod now? Do you just have to do a few awesome godly tasks? Is it like Hercules? Like one good act does not make you a god. You've got to do, yeah.
Didn't like it. Not so. I didn't like the whole Force Ghost bollocks with the whole like when he came through at the beginning as well. Like
that was so convenient, wasn't it? Just to get the plot started. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm your ancestor, and I'm going to tell you about the history of this magical place that's going to save the day.
I think things like that can work really, really well.
Yeah.
Because even convenience things where you think, oh, that was just done for plot, like can work really well. Even if they, you are sat there thinking, what, why? Like, again, it can. But when it's like, but there's no substance to the rest, you're just like, okay. And you just don't care about it. Because the big thing is, and it's like any story, countless stories have been told again and again and again and again and again. But that's fine. It's how you execute those stories, because essentially, like, Star Wars, there's this guy who goes up against, the world, essentially, the big corporate fucking, thing that's like, ruling over the world. And then it's like, but the leader of it is actually his dad. It's like, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that has been done in it has, Star Wars is meant to be like a soap opera, but that has been done in so many soap operas and stuff of like, well, I'm sure there's like a character who then he has like this gang that's set on him, and then you find out the gang is actually like, oh, the leader's his brother and you didn't know about it, like, or whatever. Like, point is, all that kind of story's been done, but it's how you execute it. So having this random ghost thing come up to you and be like, oh, there's, cool. But when the rest is so like lacking substance, you're like, well, it's just pointless. And that's how it feels. Like if Star Wars was shit, if it was like really, really bad and you didn't really care about the characters, like, oh, I'm your father, you'd be like, why? You know what I mean? And that's how you would feel. So plot points, and things that happen, it's like, that's cool. And I'm a firm believer any idea has the potential to be a good idea, but it depends what you do with it. Because on the other side, that every idea also has the potential to be a very bad idea.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, no, totally. And yeah, even saying things like, "Oh, this magical, mystical person shows up to tell them the direction." Well, that's Empire Strikes Back. That's when the ghost of Obi-Wan shows up and says, "Luke, you must go to the Dagobah system." Like so. Yeah, it's how you handle it. But
Yeah.
I think for this, I'm just like, why wait now? Why after 3 years later? And it was just like, well, these weren't showing up in the previous one. Oh no, I guess she did have a vision in the first one, didn't she? She had like an epiphany, I suppose, when she goes into that cave and she sees all the boats that they once had.
Well, like Star Wars when he goes into that cave.
Oh yeah! Oh my God, my brain.
It's Star Wars.
So what we're saying is that Moana 2 is Empire Strikes Back. It's just as good as Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
We've got to have a Return of the Jedi with like 2 battles going on, and one led by Maui and one led by Moana.
Well, who are going to be like the Ewoks in Moana? It'll be the coconuts, the coconut people,
it'll be
the coconut tribe people. Yeah, there we go. We've written your movie.
I genuinely thought though for a sec, because the little coconut people, I thought, okay, I can see a Kingdom Hearts world where they're your little, like, you fight them alongside the Heartless, and then they didn't turn into what I thought, and I went, oh.
Yeah, so apparently these have lost their home. Like the ones that we see cast adrift in the first movie that are pirates and attack them. And Maui's like, Kakamora, like he's had a run-in with these guys before. These guys are bad news. They're just misunderstood, and they're actually really nice, and they just want to get back to their home. But they were still murderous sons of bitches in the first movie. So, yeah, I don't know. But I did like that coconut character, because why not? Why not at this point? Yeah, it is going to be Return of the Jedi, isn't it? Like Moana's going to be getting tortured by the demigod character, and Matangi's going to be watching because she's the villain's lackey. But then she actually really sides from Moana and believes in her cause. So then Matangi is going to be the one who beats.
I think Moana needs to be like stabbed and like abused in the next one.
Oh my God!
That's what I want to happen. I'd watch it.
You sick fuck. So a thing to point out about this one as well, because it was being adapted as a TV series, the animation was initially handed off to the Animation Studios Vancouver studio, which I guess deals with more of the series-based stuff, like not the big feature films. But as this became a feature film, it's notable in that it's the first Disney animated feature to be made at the Vancouver studio. So I guess that's a first for this movie. There you go. But I'll be like, guys, just have a plan. I guess, as I say, like financially, it was definitely the best decision for them as a company. But
that's a lot of money.
Like, go in and just say, yeah, this is going to be a film. Don't change your mind at the last minute and just go, oh, yeah, no, actually, we'll do a film. Yeah. Let's talk to music in this one then, because we kind
Beyond is good. I like Beyond.
So the soundtrack is done by the same 2 people, Mark Mancina and, oh God, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name. The same 2 people that did the score to the first Moana movie.
Hacky Wacky.
And the score's beautiful. Once again, there's a lot of those returning themes, once again, from the first movie. The songwriting is done by the 2 aforementioned people, but no Lin-Manuel Miranda in this one. He just scheduling, it didn't work out. After he did Encanto, he was busy promoting Encanto and whatnot. And then as soon as he was done there, he had to start work on that piece of shit Mufasa film that came out in December, that prequel film about Mufasa. So he was doing the music to that, so he couldn't do the music to this one. So in his place, they got in Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear to contribute to the songs for some of the additional ones. I'm going to have to bring up the soundtrack to this one, because honestly, none of the songs of this one have really stayed with me. They're just very much kind of meandering, and none of them have that hook, which it's Moana with the fish hook. Anyway, that was terrible. Nothing really drew me in with this one. I never sort of like finished the film and was humming any of the melodies, unlike the first one, which to me had about like 3 or 4 absolute foot tapper songs in that one. Could you pick a favorite song in this one?
Yeah,
the soundtrack.
Yeah,
Beyond. That's kind of the big one, isn't it? I suppose
the one with Maui where he sings like basically, like, oh, you're awesome, level up, all that kind of bollocks. Chiwu, whatever it's called.
Yeah, can I get a Chihu? Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like it when I first heard it, and then when it ended, I was like, I guarantee this is going to grow. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a grower, not a shower, 100%.
But like the film itself, the music and the beats of the music, they're all exactly the same as the first one. There was even one that almost sounded exactly the same as You're Welcome. Was that the Chi-Hu one? I can't remember. There was one that's almost sounded identical to it.
I guess it's because the way The Rock sings.
Yeah. Oh, there was it could have been the Matangi song. There was like a rap section in there. I think that was the one that I was thinking of. The really high energy one, the same kind of 2D colorful background and the same visual style as You're Welcome. So it might be that one that I'm thinking about actually. Yeah.
There was with the little rap bit, wasn't there? That was fun. I thought the music was all right.
Like Beyond is the How Far I'll Go equivalent of this film, isn't it? And then there's We're Back, which reintroduces you into the world, and that's like what's that first one called in the first Moana film that just introduces the world of the island.
This movie is like oxtail soup because I enjoy oxtail soup, I do, but it's better with some bread and butter. Like without it, it's just like what I mean. You need something to substance it.
And Moana 1 had the bread and butter.
Moana 1 was like chicken soup, not cream of chicken soup, but actually nice chicken soup. That was Moana 1.
Yeah, best soup. Everyone in the comments, if you're still watching, we're talking about cereals, we're talking about soups. What's your favorite soup?
I feel like I prefer soup to cereal, but then again, it's a weird comparison because would you wake up and have a bowl of soup? I mean, I have.
Depending on when we finish this, I've got a co-op like down my road. Like I'm good. I'll probably go and get some chicken soup or mushroom soup's really good too.
My cupboard is stocked of just loads of soup. Just loads of because you go to Aldi, it's like 90p soup. I'm just going to start. My cupboard's just got loads of soup. I will not go hungry. If we have a nuclear holocaust, I'll probably die. But if we have a nuclear holocaust, if I can't leave the house, I have soup for days. It's great.
JDC Man says, since you guys mentioned your only thing you liked about Wish, let me be honest. Even though I thought the movie was meh, I've been thoroughly enjoying that scrapped climax with the demonic Magnifico. Yeah, what that film could have been, right? There was a lot of potential there, and
the animation was brilliant.
It was unique. It's the most, well, I won't say it's the most unique animation in the Disney catalog, but it does stand apart. So I guess it does make it unique because there isn't another one like it.
Because the weird thing about that though is I was surprised when I saw it, just because none of the posters and stuff looked like it was going to look like that. It was a surprise.
I only knew that from, I think I watched the first trailer that came out for it, and I thought, oh, that kind of looks all right, back to a princess thing and whatnot. I didn't know if it was going to be a musical, but the first thing that struck me was the animation, and it did look like the Into the Spider-Verse animation, which you will watch at some point. I will make you watch that.
God, Carl says, I don't like it.
Yeah, I know. It's a good film though. It's a good Miles Morales one. Carl Robert says, I honestly can't imagine what the live-action version of this will look like. You and me both. Well, you're just going to have... I mean, Maui is so imposing. I guess The Rock in real life is probably as, with enhancements, obviously, is probably as close as you're going to get to something like that. But just the visual design, it's just going to... The live-action ones always lack that. And I say you get a sense of freedom with the animation that you're just not going to be able to replicate in live action at all. Well, you're just going to have The Rock holding like a big fish hook. Like what? It's just, yeah. It's pointless. It'll be the same music. It'll be the same exact shit.
Will it be like carrot and coriander soup, where it's enjoyable, but it leaves a ring around the bowl? If you don't clean it away, it's just going to smell. Is that what more than live action is going to be like?
I was going to say, are we going to have to start comparing all 62 of these films to a flavor of soup? Because I can't even think of 62 flavors of soup.
So we're going to start making our own soup. That'll be the sponsor of the videos. Buy the new soup.
Or it'll be the tier list. When we do the tier list, we'll have like cream of chicken at the top. And then I don't know, I could go for like tomato or like mushroom soup.
Chicken noodle though, that's, I think frozen's your chicken noodle soup. I do and also I feel like I could eat some chicken noodle soup in the cold, so that's why frozen reminds me of chicken noodle. But I would say Aladdin is chicken sweet corn. Now that's the one.
Brinsley says Dragon Ball Z just keeps going stronger. Love it. And he says Dragon Ball Z review, then do Pixar. Whew. We have talked about it. I think we've talked about it on these very streams actually about potentially doing Dragon Ball Z, but dude, I can't. I feel like if you are not on that ride, if you are not on that wagon already, if you're not on that train or whatever mode of transport it is you prefer, I've missed it. It's gone.
I just keep going with Dragon Ball. It's like they bring up more, and I'm just going to keep going.
It'd be like us saying, right, we're going to do a Coronation Street retrospective.
Imagine that start from episode 1.
It's like you ain't on this ride. I'm sorry, the ship sailed.
You know what? I do wonder how many there are, because like, how many hours would it take you? Is it physically possible to get through before you die?
I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah. So maybe not Dragon Ball Z, but the sentiment is there. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not ruling it out, but. Carl says the new Snow White would be pea soup. Pea soup in the respect of someone pissing in a bowl. Yeah, that's what.
Have you ever had peas? It's horrible.
I don't like peas, so there's no point in me having
exactly, pea soup. So it would be like pea soup.
Peas absolutely revolt me. So pea soup is like you take a pea, you take a single pea, and you squeeze it into mushy pea, and all that horrible, disgusting stuff. I'm having to stop myself from dry heaving. Right now.
I don't like peas to the point where if I have peas on, and I'm still like this, and I am not a picky eater at all. Okay, but if I have peas and it touches something, it tastes like pea, and I'm like, no.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm the same.
That's the only thing I'm like that with, though, because I'm like the least fussiest eater ever. But that is just horrible. Although my nan used to, I don't know how she did it, but when she used to put peas with stuff, it was such a dark green. They didn't look like peas, and they didn't fucking taste like peas. They were fucking amazing. But aside from that, peas are fucking horrible.
Did you ever find out the recipe for that? Do you ever find out what she did?
Nah, it's a shame. And then she died. It died with her. There was one, and this is a funny story. There was my great grandma. I think it was it. No, it wasn't bread pudding. No, it was Christmas pudding. That was it. She made Christmas pudding. I was only told this literally a few months ago, and she made Christmas pudding. And then I can't remember who it was. It was like my aunt or someone asked her for the recipe, and then she was just like, "No, it will die with me," and it did.
I love those like family traditions though of like recipes and stuff that have been passed down. It's like super secret.
Do you know what was funny though? My nan, this was my other nan, she made bread pudding, and it's really fucking nice, really, really great. And she made it, and it was lovely as a kid. And my stepmom then was with my aunt. This was literally, again, just happened. She was with my aunt, and she was making it from the same recipe. And she was just like, "Oh, you need to give me that recipe. I don't want it, you dying and not getting it." And she was just like, "Okay." And she literally it was literally made from a packet. And she was like, "It's just this." And it's like 30 years of thinking it was some magical special thing, and you're telling me it was on the back of the fucking box.
It's like I can imagine. Oh, what's that in the original Willy Wonka film? You've got Slugworth who's trying to find out the secret recipe to, is it the everlasting gobstopper or something?
Yeah.
Whichever one of you can bring me back an everlasting gobstopper, like, yeah.
And then Slugworth turns into be his minion or something.
Yeah, that was, strange, but it is a cool character. Brinsley says, "Never thought I'd hear Dragon Ball Z and Coronation Street in the same sentence."
Hey, you can bet I will find a way to reference Van Halen in both.
This is what you hear, Brinsley. This is what you can expect from this channel, right? These live streams. Carl says, "Same with burgers and tomatoes. I get told just take the tomato, but you can still take." Yes, thank you. I can't stand tomatoes. Horrible, absolutely disgusting.
You know what though? If a tomato, I like tomatoes, all right, but like a cold tomato, I can take or leave. If you have it warm, like if you grill that, it's fucking amazing. It's sweeter. It's not.
There we go. And Brinsley says Dragon Ball Z is slightly less action than Corey. I don't know. Do you remember the whole Richard Hillman stuff? Was it where he drove Gale into the water? Yeah. That's probably the last time I watched Corey. Actually,
Coronation Street has more action and death.
They were so proud of that shot because the car ramps off into the water, and that you saw it like about 5 different times from all different angles. It's like, right, we need to make sure that we get this in one shot, and we're just going to show it off. So.
This review's gone in a different direction.
It really has, and I'm here for it. It's fine. It's the last one, so it's not the last one, but it is the last one.
Bread pudding and Coronation Street.
Bath Time says, actually, this is interesting because we have mentioned this probably off air. Talking about the possible future retrospectives, Bath Time says Pixar's a good one. I'd love a Sopranos or The Wire review series, but probably
we talked about Sopranos.
We did mention Sopranos because you've never
seen
seen it. Yeah, both of us have never seen it before, and it's I think
but I know
probably
I would like it. I know I would love it.
Probably following the Penguin series that we did, that sort of like
Yeah.
rekindled that. You've never watched The Sopranos, Chris. Like, you should really watch that at some point.
And there's a thing, but there is a thing I know that happens, which I won't spoil it for you, but I have a perfect Van Halen reference that fits so well with The Sopranos.
Well, the thing is with The Sopranos, and again, if anyone's seen it in the comments, please don't spoil it for us, but I've heard the ending is really shit, and that's how most long-running TV series, yeah. So, and I don't really know how the best way to do a retrospective like that would be, because I don't feel we could do weekly reviews on each episode, because we'd be here. There's like hundreds and hundreds of episodes to that, isn't there? So I don't know. What if there's an episode where not much happens? Like, we literally just come on the stream and just go talk for 10 minutes. Like, oh yeah, the character did this thing.
It'd be a series by series, wouldn't it?
You'd have to do it. Yeah, you'd have to do it series by series, and I think there's like 20 odd episodes per season. So it'd be a lot of groundwork to just do one video of us talking about a single series. Yeah, so I don't know how the best way to go about that, but we have mentioned it. We have definitely mentioned it before.
Yeah.
Carl says my mum used to eat a tomato like an apple. Oh God, that's like Denethor levels right there. Absolute savage.
I used to eat a lemon like an apple.
What?
I fucking love lemon. I absolutely adore lemon, but not good for your teeth.
So no,
I wouldn't do that anymore.
It's not good for much else, I don't think. Oh,
it's fucking fantastic though.
Brinsley says Chris reviews soup. Yeah.
Up there for me would be chicken sweet corn.
Oh God, no! Get you sweet corn out of here! No.
And chicken sweet corn from the Chinese. Like, you have to go to that.
I hate sweet corn. Absolutely
you
diabolical.
Dip like a spare rib in it as well. Like, oh,
spare ribs are fine. I'm cool with spare ribs, but
have you ever dipped a prawn cracker in soup? It crackles. It's great.
It's like Skips.
Yes.
Or do you remember that like popping candy chocolate you used to get?
Yeah, whatever happened to that? That doesn't exist either anymore.
It's like,
that was great, because as a kid, then you'd open your mouth so you could hear it.
Yeah. Frizzly says you all need more veggies. Yeah, I actually probably do. But I'll skip the pea soup if it's all the same with you.
I'm cool with veggies, but as long as it's accompanied by other things.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of all I have to say on Moana 2. It's open to pretty mixed reviews, in all honesty, but well, Disney don't care about that, do they? Because it's made an over $1 billion, which is incredible. 150 mil budget as well. Maybe double that for marketing, say 300. That is a very, very tidy profit right there for them. Certainly a lot better than Wish and Strange World, which I think lost them 200 mil, wasn't it? So they've definitely recouped it with that. And that kind of brings us to the end of the retrospective. Moana 2 hasn't been nominated at the Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature. Inside Out 2 has, so I guess that's like the Disney Pixar one for this year. But it was nominated at the Golden Globes for Best Animated Feature. So yeah, Moana 2, it feels a bit of a weird one to end it on, in all honesty. I agree with you that Wish is probably, because that marked the centennial, that was maybe sort of the more fitting end. Probably still an anticlimactic end, even with Wish, granted. But final thoughts on Moana 2 then?
It happened. I wouldn't say I wished it didn't. It was enjoyable. I preferred it to Frozen 2. I think also because I really liked the first Frozen. I did really like the first Moana, but Frozen 2 felt very sort of like nothing really happened in Frozen 2. Whereas Moana, things happened, and you got cool monsters and stuff. But you got cool monsters in the first one, and things happened in the first one. And it just felt very... and it was there was a cool end, in a way, but it was just kind of like, it was there. Like, if it didn't, my life would have turned out exactly the same.
One thing, because like this is kind of the end. I know I keep saying that we're doing the two other ones, which we will, because we've had some very vocal people in the comments saying, "Why did you skip out Dinosaur and Winnie the Pooh?" I'm like, okay, we'll do Dinosaur and Winnie the Pooh, I promise. Now that we've done all 62 of the UK list, and we can kind of look back at the Walt Disney Animation Studios company as a whole, I'll give you the floor for this one if you just want to talk about it, sort of how it started, where it went, sort of any lull periods, and do you think the company has changed, and what are your hopes, and where do you think the company is heading into the future as we keep these reviews going for the Disney films?
I personally, I don't see much of a future for Disney at the moment. They will at some point, but I don't see one right now. It's mainly because of all the sequels. So, back in, when it started, being a Disney classic meant something. It was like, oh, a new Disney movie. It's kind of like, I'm trying to think of an example. Let's do my usual thing. Have you heard the new Van Halen album? It's a big thing. It's great, And a Disney classic, it was like, oh, there's a new one. It's like, and that's what there was a thing to it. Now it's like just Disney movies. Like Disney classics don't exist really. I mean, they do technically, but to me, it just doesn't feel like that anymore. So, and if they keep going down that route, which they will, because obviously what makes money and stuff, it just isn't. I don't see a big future for it in the sense of Disney classics. There's not, to me, there hasn't been a Disney classic really in a while. Obviously there has, like Wish was last week, sure, but I think they all get diminished by the fact of it's all falling into the same just Disney movie, Disney movie, Disney movie. So I think that's what Disney classic being a Disney classic, sorry, meant something. And even when it did have its dips of being in World War II and all that sort of stuff, it still felt like Disney were trying, Disney were pushing for something. Whereas now it feels like if there's a World War III, they'd have to we put it on hold. That's what they would do, and that's what the company feels like. It's safe. It's just what makes money, and it used to be a whole right. I've got a passion. I want to do this. I want to tell this story. Whereas now it's like, well, it's a good story. Oh, do you know what? Frozen made a lot of money. Let's do that. And that's what it feels like at the moment. Disney as a whole, Disney as a whole is a bit of a different. Bit of a different thing.
Well, let's start with sort of like what Disney meant to you and sort of where your standing is with it now then.
As a kid, Disney was kind of, it was the thing in terms of like, kind of like McDonald's in the sense of when you think fast food, you think McDonald's. When you think animated, children, you think Disney. I say children's movie. I mean, as a kid, you think animated, you think Disney, you think this. Now, I don't really think Disney for anything like that, aside from ruining franchises. But I mean? I don't think Disney for that. And I don't think that's because I'm not a kid and all that. So I don't think it's that. I think it's because it's lost its way of being this, like, it doesn't mean anything anymore to be a Disney classic. And that's the sad part, where you had actual stories behind why Snow White was made, why this was made, whatever. But now it's kind of like it's just, I mean, obviously it's made for there's going to be obviously stories behind someone wanting to tell this story. Sure, they do happen, but there's not any passion behind the things that are being made anymore. I genuinely don't see it. I don't feel it. And especially when you get stuff like Moana 2, Frozen 2 being made in Disney classics, it's like you're just slapping on Disney classic and it doesn't mean anything anymore. And they can't recover from that in my head, because even if let's say sequels are no longer part of Disney classic line and they just go, right, it's all unique, all original movies, even if they're fantastic, to me it still would feel very different. It's like, yeah, but you've broken that up. So yeah, they've gone down because of that. Like, they might have their dips. We might have had their, the periods where we think, oh, it's kind of lulling a bit, and then it brings itself back up, and it might do that again. But it's bringing itself back up into a world where it's like they've taken the meaning away, and that, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautifully put. God, how do I follow that? Yeah, and I think, I mentioned this when we started the retrospective and we were going through all of those really, really old ones again, and Snow White's, Pinocchio's, Fantasia's and whatnot. It was such a different feel. And I know it was decades ago. I get that. But especially from reading about the behind the scenes as well, to sort of go along with our review and seeing how the company changed, hearing sort of Disney's input, and he's like, I wanted to tell this story because this story meant something to me, or this will go well with families, this one. It was always that. It was always the vision and how this is going to go over with the audience. And I get it was a business as well. And of course, when they make a movie, they want it to make money. Of course they do, for all the investors and everyone involved in it. I get that. But Disney were in the doldrums a few times throughout, and they always manage to pull themselves out of it and get another hit. And I guess we're still kind of seeing that now fairly recently with the likes of Strange World and Wish, you know, losing a lot of money, not to the point where it's going to tank Disney as a company like it was back in the old days. But there was such a fire and there was such a passion in that man, Walt Disney, and even, you know, the people that succeeded him and, you know, led to the Disney Renaissance. And you can see it in the product. And I think now, Carl's put it beautifully here, a film that makes money doesn't make it a classic. Like, will people be watching Deadpool and Wolverine in 10 years?
The other thing is as well, because we've had Disney sequels before, like, you know, Beauty and the Beast 2 and stuff, but they're not Disney classics. They don't add it to the line. It's like, right, now here's the next one, here's the next story, but they're not the next story anymore.
Yeah. And I think, you know, a Disney classic didn't need that to have that longevity or to stay in someone's mind, because the tale was so traditional, so beloved, whether, you know, the characters, the music, and the imagination that it sparked in everyone who watched it, and that magic, that Disney magic, which I feel has been diminishing as of late. You know, Snow White didn't need a sequel. Never had a sequel. Out of all the Disney sequels that got made direct to video, Snow White never got one. People still remember it now. They remember the songs, they remember the characters, they remember the imagery from it. And as you said, like, yeah, Beauty and the Beast got like 2 sequels and whatnot, but they were direct to video, you know, they weren't sort of released worldwide in theaters and whatnot. So now it feels like the company is a completely different animal. It's completely morphed into something that is no longer resembling the original company, except in name only. It doesn't feel like film. Yeah, well, films are products now. Films aren't made like an initial spark of imagination. It's what's sold, what's marketable. Let's just make another one of that, and message and meaning and longevity and the title of classic be damned. But sort of looking back on Disney, and I'll sort of pass this over to you now. I'll sort of say my bit on it, and you can close it out. The importance that Disney has had on you throughout your life, and to me, it's, even though it does kind of break my heart to see where Disney's going currently, and I do often wonder sometimes. I think, oh, is it just because I'm of an age where I'm just like, oh, back in my day, Disney films were better, and is that the nostalgia talking? But no, I don't think it is just the nostalgia talking. And I think there is genuinely a marked drop in quality of the storytelling, and, you know, some of the politics behind it and how things get made and what's in the movies, etc. But I will never, I mean, it's such a part of my DNA, Disney. And that's why, you know, I've always wanted to do one of these retrospectives, in that I have such a passion for animation, and Disney really did spark that in me. I can't imagine my upbringing without those Disney films being a part of it. And some of those films, even to this day, are so important to me and my identity, and just, yeah, the life lessons that I've taken away from it. And even going back to them as an adult, and that's what makes them so timeless, is that there's always something you can take away from it, whether you're a young'un watching it, whether you're a teenager, an adult, or, you know, an OAP and you're elderly. Like, there's always something there. And I think that aspect of Disney films, in how universal they are, has been lost with these newer ones. And I'd like to see Disney get back to a day, and to get back to a time where they make great movies like that again. And yeah, fingers crossed. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We've seen the slew of stuff that's on the Disney slate at the moment, and it pretty much is all sequels. So hopefully once all those sequels and trilogies are complete, then we'll have like a new wave of stuff that we can get into. But yeah, it's Disney's so massively important to me. And yeah, even when I went to that orchestra thing last year, I was like, yeah, I'm glad my parents showed me these movies. I'm glad I grew up with these films.
Yeah, I mean, Disney's, like I said, it's always been the top of, like, when you watch animated movies. It's been like I said before. It's like, you know, when, you know, years ago it was like, watch an animated movie and it's like, have you seen a new Disney movie? Whereas now it just doesn't have that. Like, the movies don't have that staying power.
It's been diluted. Yeah, it's almost like going back to your McDonald's thing. It's like a fast food movie. It's like, okay, Moana 2, what's next? You know.
Yeah, and it's kind of, because, I mean, have you? Do you know the story of McDonald's? Thinking of McDonald's again, do you know the story of McDonald's?
I didn't watch that Michael Keaton movie. No, the founder.
I thought it was really good, to be fair. But it's like that in the sense of like McDonald's was a thing and they were passionate about it and they did a thing and yeah, it was great and it did whatever, but then they started pumping them all out and there was loads and then the standards dropped and stuff. But it's kind of like that. Like there's not that passion and energy behind it, like with the McDonald's, and they're just throwing them out there. And I mean, I was going to kind of compare it to this, but I don't fully know how to explain how McDonald's works. But it's not the same kind of franchise everywhere else because people will own like a branch, but it's its own business and it's something like that. And you know, I don't know how to explain it because I can't think exactly how it works, but you get where I'm going. And Disney kind of feels like that, where it's kind of like, there's this and there's Moana and there's this. It doesn't all feel like one big thing anymore, like Disney classics. And have you seen that new Disney movie? It's just, you see Moana, I didn't really like the first one. It's like, okay, cool, fair enough. Like, do you know what I mean? You're not going to watch it. Whereas I guess in the 90s, especially, because obviously I was born then and, you know, obviously there was a Renaissance and shit, but it was kind of like, well, you did go and watch it because you're like, oh, it's a Disney movie, you think you're going to like it. Whereas, you know, now it's kind of like, you've seen Moana 2, but I didn't like the first one. It's a lead up to something that you might have already not liked or been like, oh, I'm a really big fan of Moana, but didn't like Frozen or this. And it's just a different product now. It's not, you know, I wouldn't go to Disneyland and think, oh, I'm going to see, you know, this character or this character. They just don't have that same ring to them anymore, which is a shame.
Yeah. Carl says, Disney taught me so many life lessons and made me believe in the power of storytelling in the movies. Yeah.
And that's the thing. They were fairy tales. They were for all ages. They were timeless. They were just for everyone. And, you know, you get things now that are just like, it just doesn't hit the same, does it?
Yeah, for me as well. I'd be ashamed if I didn't mention the music as well. I guess this kind of goes into the whole, you know, like just the power and the magic that the films have, and the music is so important to it. Even from, you know, as far back as Snow White with stuff like Hi Ho and, you know, all the other tracks in that. But for me, the Alan Menken scores, like it's cemented Alan Menken in my top 3 composers of all time. I'm including everyone in that. In the history of time, like Alan Menken is in my top 3.
Like John Williams, because when he dies,
please stop mentioning John Williams. You're just going to mention him every day, and then you'll be like, see, I told you. I'm like, yeah, but you mention him like every day for like months. Yeah, just the music, especially to those, you know, Beauty and the Beast, Hunchback, Pocahontas, all those 90s ones. That stuff is timeless for me and just fills me with joy every single time I hear music like that, and just the geniosity and the creativity that goes into producing a score and soundtracks like that, especially musical style ones like that. So I need to tip my hat to Alan Menken, who I think is a genius and is he is a Disney legend as far as I'm concerned. So
is Miley Cyrus now, apparently.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know how that happened. I really don't.
Hannah Montana on the Disney Channel.
I mean,
right?
Sure, it did well, and she became but to be called a legend, like it just yeah. Like this is where names like it loses all meaning, because it's like calling someone like that. Like I'm not disputing what she's done, or you know, I'm not disputing that series because it did. I'm not disputing any of that. But what I'm saying is, when you slap the word legend on now, because that it's like, you kind of diminish what the name means. It was kind of that little bit different. It's kind of like, again, I'm going to go back to McDonald's apparently, but like Bill Gates has a gold McDonald's card, which gives him free McDonald's just everywhere forever. And he's like the only one, as far as we know, that has one. Yeah, I bet like the guy that owns it has one. But anyway, but you know what I mean? Like he is essentially the only one that has it. And like, there's a meaning to that in this. I don't know why, considering he has like loads of money and he gets free. It just doesn't make sense. But anyway, we'll gloss over that. But the point is, it's like, it means something to have one. Like it's literally just unique to him. Whereas if they then, let's say they put them on sale, even if it was like, oh, there's 5 and they're you know, they cost £1 million each. Even if they did that, it would still diminish the you know, what the one for Bill Gates actually means. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing where it's kind of like, okay, great, I get it. Or if they gifted it to Elon Musk, I mean, he's probably the next person that would be gifted one, in all fairness. But if they then gifted it to some entrepreneur or something, no, okay, let me think. So Mark Zuckerberg made Facebook. Obviously, he's got billions, but realistically, is he that level of Bill Gates? It's that kind of thing of gifting it to him would be like, a little bit you've diminished it. He hasn't been around as long and made as much of an impact. He made a social media thing, which everyone fucking hates anyway. But, you know what I mean? He hasn't made that kind of impact. I reckon Elon Musk probably has, I would say. But, you know what I mean? Like, it would start diminishing that, even though you're there thinking, oh yeah, they kind of deserve it. It's like, well, but look at who else got that. You've got to think it's like Disney classics again. Like, oh yeah, but it's a Disney movie, it's an anime. It's like, yeah, but look at what else is a Disney classic. You've now just diminished the whole title, and I feel that's what Disney have done.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what a lot of franchises have done.
We need, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Willow. You remember that Willow, that Netflix, not Netflix series, Disney Plus series they did? A series that Disney themselves were so ashamed of. It was that bad that they pretty much took it off a month after it was released, and you literally can't watch that.
Do you know what? So racist as well. They haven't put Song of the South on Disney Plus, and it's like, I find that racist because it was the racist thing as well. The guy that was playing the character was turned away from the premiere because he was black. They turned him away. And that's
Jesus,
obviously really, really racist. But I feel like not putting it on Disney Plus is racist.
Well, it's a part of Disney's history as much as they want you to try and believe it isn't. It is. So.
Yep. And yet they've got the Family Guy episode where they call out Walt Disney for being a Jew. No, for being a Nazi. It's like, okay. Surely anything should have the warning beforehand. By the way.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I guess we'll round it off there on the Family Guy Nazi joke.
Yeah, on the Hitler Disney comparison.
So, as we've said, this is not the end for the Disney retrospective. We've got 2 more videos that are going to come out. So next week at the same time, we're going to be going back to the millennium, back to the year 2000, to review Disney's Dinosaur, which is number 39, I believe, on the Disney Animated Classics list from the US. And then we're going to be covering the 2011 Winnie the Pooh movie. And we're done. We're done. That's our contribution to the UK list and the US list, and we'll be moving on to greener pastures. And I guess to sort of tease what we've got coming up after those 2 reviews, after the Disney things, we do have some plans. So March the 2nd at midnight is going to be apparently the date for the Academy Awards. Now, I didn't do a live stream last year for the Academy Awards, and I'm still debating whether to do a live stream during the actual entire 3-hour event, because it's quite a long time to keep talking for. And, it might be pointless, but I do always try and cover all of the movies if I can. I always try and get reviews out for at least all of the Best Picture nominees, as well as the animation category. And Dale, I thought, well, considering we've taken on all of the Disney films, I pitched to you whether you'd be down for joining me as we review all of the nominees for the best animated feature category. So there are a total of 5 movies. So we've got to try and get 5 films done on top of Disney's Dinosaur and Winnie the Pooh. So we've got Flo, The Wild Robot, Memoir of a Snail, Inside Out 2, and Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. Out of those 5, I've currently seen 2 of them, but I don't have reviews on the channel for them. So, I guess you'll be joining me on those. We'll be watching some. We've got a Latvian silent film called Flo, and then we've got an Australian stop-motion animation film, I believe, called Memoir of a Snail. And then I think you've probably heard of all the other ones, haven't you? So, yeah, that's what we'll be moving on to next.
The Wild Robot is apparently great.
Yep.
Wallace and Gromit is...
That's good.
I don't hold out as much hope.
It's not my favourite one out of all of them, but I enjoyed it a lot more than A Matter of Loaf and Death, which was the previous one that they made.
Is it better than Were-Rabbit?
No.
Interesting.
Do you not like that movie?
Not that much, no.
Ooh.
I wasn't as big on it. And everyone always is like, how? I'm like, it's just, yeah.
No, I
when it
really
went commercial, it felt weird. I didn't like it.
I mean, it was a break from the mold, wasn't it? So, yeah. Well, let's have a look at the 10 movies then that have been nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture this year. We've got A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Nickel Boys, I'm Still Here, The Substance, Dune Part 2, Wicked, Anora, and The Brutalist, apparently. Now, out of all of those, I've seen one, which is Dune Part 2.
I've seen one.
Yeah, you've seen Wicked. So I pitched this to you because we did actually have plans to review Wicked, but much, much later on in the year, right before Part 2 is coming out, we had like a little bit of a mini retrospective there planned, which I guess we could still do in a way, but I am going to have to review Wicked before March the 2nd. So, Dale, I will ask you now, would you like to accompany me on this journey into Wicked and reviewing that movie with me at some point?
It's just going to be an hour of me talking about Ariana Grande. So
I know.
Sounds like fun.
And all the despicable things she's done recently. Have you heard about all that stuff?
No.
Oh, well, I will catch you up on all that stuff. Anyway, yeah, so once we've done with this retrospective, it's really just going to be a big mad dash to the Academy Awards. I'm going to try and get all 10 of those movies reviewed, plus the 5 animated ones. Christ, I need to find some free time to watch all these films, but I will do my very best. So that's going to be sort of what's coming up next on the channel. And then after that, we do have some plans for some more retrospectives. So stay tuned because we've got plans for it. In the meantime, let us know your thoughts on Moana 2. Did you think it was a worthy successor? Do you think it's good as Disney sequels go? Or do you think it's not all that? Anything Moana related or indeed Disney related, as this is kind of the unofficial last one, let us know your fondest Disney memories, your favorite Disney films.
We're gonna do the Steve Coogan movies. Everything Steve Coogan.
Steve just... yeah. Why not, indeed. And do please consider subscribing to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. As I mentioned, we've got a lot of content planned for 2025. And we're really grateful and appreciative of everyone who's joined us tonight and commented along, and indeed comments every video or joins us. We really appreciate you guys, so thank you for that. Yeah, 62 Disney movies done. There we are, with 2 left to go. So if you're still enjoying the Disney stuff, we'll hope to see you next week for some
I
Disney's
want more
Dinosaur.
opinions on who prefers cereal over soup. Because
yeah, let us know your favorite flavor of soup in the comments as well. Yeah. Why not? Because I'm actually going to go and get some now. I think I've got half hour until the store closes. I'm going to go and get some.
But the thing is, you can put croutons in soup. You can't put croutons in soup. I mean, you can.
Next level, you can. No, you can absolutely do that. Or if you haven't got croutons, then you just do some toast in the toaster and just.
No, I'm on about you can, but in cereal you can't.
Well, I mean, I guess you could.
What dip cereal? What dip toast in? I mean, you could. Yeah, you could.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Speaking of that, in milk, I was thinking if you dip toast in milk, that's going to be a bit weird. But if you dip black pudding in milk, that's fucking amazing. I won't lie, that was fucking incredible. That was an accidental find, but I was glad I did it.
I'm just going to finish off with these 2 comments. Carl says, Wicked was great. The first half was annoying, but once the story kicked in, it was great. And Brinsley says, Soup Stream. Potentially, maybe. If I run out of ideas, then I know I've at least always got the Soup Stream on the back burner. Tin. Exactly. Yeah, there's a niche for that if someone hasn't done that already.
And then also, yeah, and then it would be like, but the Aldi version or which...
You could do like a blindfold thing, and you could taste the difference and see if you could tell which store was which.
And is one nice cold? Is it? There's just so many things.
Giving us so many ideas. All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for accompanying us on this journey, and we'll hope to see you on the last 2 that we do in the next couple of weeks. Take care, everyone.
Oh shit! Where'd that go?